What a bunch of stuff in the background, huh? Well, this is Old Man Random Thoughts. And out in the street, somebody's selling something. All you need is a car and a megaphone and some kind of a musical tone generator, and you can be out there selling stuff too. The LP trucks come by and is swapping out bottles down below in the restaurant. And another day begins in southern Ecuador. I have been going through this this creator angst. Does anybody care? Why do I do this? You know, I was posting one a day. I missed two. I did 2 days in a row where I didn't put anything up or didn't record anything. I did watch a few of those creator burnout videos. It seems to be one on every subject, especially the internal ones. People saying, well, gosh, golly, nobody cares, and why am I bothering to do this? And in fact, the one I especially was interested in was someone on the subject of burnout, and he had as an example a gentleman I used to watch quite a bit. And I did wonder where he went to, and made me think of another one. Well, there was a guy up in Alaska with two young boys who did a lot of stuff in the wilderness and showed how life is up there. And then he made some money on YouTube, presumably, and they went off. They went to Iceland for one thing, where I was in the Navy for a year. But the other one was Bo of the Fifth Column, which I really enjoyed because I swear the guy must have been an intelligence analyst, or he had the natural talent for it, because he examined the current events, war and rumor of war, pretty much. And he burned out. They say he was doing 2 or 3 a day, every day, 24/7, 365. And now his wife has taken over with a slight variation in the title. Yeah, well, I can after 2 months, I can appreciate that. It's a vast psychological experiment on both sides of the camera. I don't quite understand. Well, the lab rat doesn't understand what the researchers are trying to discover. In fact, maybe the rat and the scientists discover something at about the same time. The idea of putting yourself out there, so to speak, of talking about yourself, and we always talk about ourselves no matter what the subject is. I don't know, aside from the obvious of are people going to like me, do people hate me, and all of that, I don't really give a flying boxcar. But, oh, I do, that's not true. I project that I don't, but I really do. But I'm not too hard to tolerate, I hope. We're not going to talk about the 300-pound gorilla or the 700-pound gorilla in the room, the war. The war? What war? There's a war? Oh, that was the other thing I watched on YouTube yesterday that is memorable. Some young woman was doing something, and I forget what her nom de plume was, her YouTube name, but it was something like Gorgeous Prepper or something or other. And she was having a live stream, and it was going to be about the war. What struck me was, yeah, it's a war. Why is everybody so flippant? And it was all jokes and laughing and are you trolling me and all this stuff on the live stream. And I'm thinking, this is a war, but lots of people are being killed. Well, they're foreigners mostly. The ratio is what, 1,000 to 1 U.S. casualties versus Iranian civilians. Anyway, it's a serious subject, but they're not taking it seriously because the post-Vietnam generation is still somewhat partying, somewhat having a hangover from the party that lasted since the end of the Vietnam War. And I put my little 2 cents in there, and everybody else is typing away. And I said, it won't be so freaking funny when there's a draft and when people are dying. I mean, people you know are dying. You know, the sons and daughters of your fellow citizens, the people you went to school with, and all of that. It'll stop being funny. People in the United States have always had this isolation, sometimes an expressed desire for political and military isolation, but just about always a psychological isolation, where the rest of the world isn't quite real. It's out there, and we can learn the names of the countries and all that stuff, and we can be interested in the culture, but it's not as real. And when somebody dies over there, it's not the same as somebody dying here, of course. Well, that caca is going to change at some point. No, I think himself, el jefe de todo, el codilla de los Estados Unidos, named Donald, I think he's going to just, the tar baby's made out of tar, and the tar baby, you think said something nasty to you, and you punch it, and your hand's stuck in the tar. And you take your other fist and punch it, and your other fist is stuck in the tar. You're stuck. You can't get out. I think himself is going to arrange that most deftly, and it's interesting to see a war done in that style that he likes to do things. You know, a little of this, and then retract it, and then go do that, and then retract that, and suggest this, and you know, they are negotiating, you know, and they say, no, we're not negotiating. You know, we might be kicking ideas back and forth, but and the expectation that you do this, you do what was done to these people, and they're going to just say, oh, well, okay, let's just let bygones be bygones. No, they're not, especially not these folks. I worked for an Iranian once, very smart people, and there's, upwards of 100 million of them, and the evil thing is they want to have nuclear weapons. Well, the U.S. has nuclear weapons, yes, but we're good. You know, we're holy. We got God on our side. If we have nuclear weapons, it's a good thing. If the enemy of our operator, also in the Middle East, has nuclear weapons, that's very bad, very bad. Even though Israel has nuclear weapons, that's okay. That's okay somehow. China and Russia have nuclear weapons, well, we can't do anything about it. North Korea has nuclear weapons, can't do anything about that either. You need to inject a little bit of reality, but I don't think that's going to happen with los Estados Unidos and the ciudadanos, the citizens up there. You don't confront reality, I suppose, until you have to. And if you're in a big enough country that's isolated that way. But it's slipping away. I was thinking about Mr. Sharifipur. Are you out there? God, I'm forgetting his first name, but he was an Iranian electrical engineer. He's in his, mid to late 40s. A good guy, very efficient. I cannot remember his first name. Sharifipur was his last name, which is probably like Jones or Smith in Iran. And we had quite a few. It's at Hewlett Packard, where this oscilloscope came from. This oscilloscope right here was made by Hewlett Packard. I rescued that one off the loading dock. But I worked for Mr. Sharifipur there, and I also worked for a Pakistani electrical engineer at Hewlett Packard. He was a great guy. They're real people. They have, they have real families. Everything is real. They have aspirations, national and personal. So I sure wish my fellow citizens would wake up at times other than when the fire bell is ringing. Anyway, if our fearless leader injects troops in there, just about anywhere, it makes no sense to invade Karg Island, sorry. The only reason it keeps coming up is that it's easy to do. It doesn't have any meaning. The U.S. does not want to shut down the oil. The people that burn oil don't want you to shut down the oil. The Iranians don't want to shut down the oil. So everybody's in favor of the oil coming from wherever possible, including Iran and Russia, flowing into the market. Because a 20% hit on the market is going to hurt everybody, and everybody knows it. But if himself puts troops on the ground, anywhere in there, including Karg Island, it's gonna get messy fast. And forget about talking about 2,500 Marines in an expeditionary force, and forget about talking about 5,000 of the 82nd Airborne. This is nothing. Levels like 5 to 10,000 are absolutely nothing. They amount to a tripwire, which is, you killed our guys, we're going 100%. What's in Korea is a tripwire. And it's for the purpose, sacrificial. It's for the purpose of saying, look, American people, they killed our guys. We have to go in 100%. We have to get them. That's all this amounts to, intentionally or not. You cannot consider a ground war with Iran without something like 100,000 initial troops, and you better be ready to put another couple of 100,000 in there. And I don't think that's enough. To occupy the country? Occupy? We don't want to occupy, we just want to beat it in a war. That's, I'm sure that's what himself, his advanced thinking, his playing chess several moves in advance, hasn't taken into account. If you start something, you've got to be ready to reach the end game. And the end game is occupation. You doing it for oil? Well, the oil is going to be a casualty. The oil all around the Gulf. All right. I don't know if I swore to the Almighty that I wasn't going to talk about politics, but it's kind of hard to avoid if you live in the real world. Everybody have a nice day. Try to be good to one another. Enjoy your life. It's finite. And we'll see you next time. Ciao.